And welcome back to Chicago Bulls Insider. Today, we are doing a Lonzo Ball update as he reveals when he will be back on the court. Next, we are going to be looking at the most recent trade rumors around Lonzo Ball, as reports have surfaced that the Dallas Mavericks might have some interest in Lonzo Ball. So we're going to be talking about all that and more. But before we jump into it, I first want to remind you to slam dunk on that subscribe button, just like Modest Buzelis slam dunks in games. And so in exchange for slamming on that subscribe button, I'm going to give you nothing but daily content around the Chicago Bulls. So make sure that you hit that like, you hit that subscribe, and you join the Chicago Bulls Insider family as we talk nothing but Chicago Bulls basketball. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump into it. And so let's start with the update here around Lonzo Ball. And so if you want to go check this out, you can go to sportsillustrated.com. And so this is the title of the article. And so within this article, it's going to take you down to his podcast, which is What an Experience. And within that podcast, if you go to a minute and 26 in that podcast, that is where you are going to see Lonzo Ball say that he is feeling great. He's going to be back on the court this week, a long summer, gearing up for next year. And so that is the update here around Lonzo Ball, is that he is feeling good. It also is written in this article as well. And so it's good to see that from Lonzo Ball. It's great to hear that from Lonzo Ball. And I must say that, look, when he was out there for the Chicago Bulls, when you look at the numbers, you're seeing a player that you would think he wasn't productive, but when he was out there, he was absolutely productive. I think that it was said many times on the broadcast when he was out there, it felt like that there were 5 Lonzo Balls out there, and that's absolutely true. But when you look at the numbers, you see a player that he only averaged 7.6 points per game, 3.3 assists, 3.4 rebounds, 34.4% from three, and 36.6% from the field. He did shoot 81.5% from the free throw line. He also had 1.3 steals, and 22.2 minutes was his average here. And so the issue with Lonzo Ball is, can he stay on the court? And so, it starts here with the offseason. We know that he came back, from the knee injury. Now he's going to have really, I think, a full offseason here. Hopefully it sounds like that the wrist is not going to be an issue, I'm assuming, since he's saying he's ready to get back on the court. And so that's a good sign to see. And so I want to see what happens now that he has a full offseason and he's able to get back out there and really build off of the momentum that he had last season, because he only played in 35 games. He did start 14 of those games. And so, like I said, he was an impact for the Chicago Bulls, even though the numbers weren't there. In fact, there was one stat that I saw that, look, the Bulls were better by 9.3 points per 100 possessions when he was out there. And so that was good to see with Lonzo and his impact. But now with him coming off of this wrist injury, he's now a year removed from coming back from this knee injury. What is going to happen with the expectations from the Chicago Bulls? Are they going to still keep him out of back-to-back situations? Is that something that's going to be lifted? Is there going to be the minutes restrictions that come off of him now as well? Are they looking to play him more in a major role with this team moving forward this next season? I think that all those questions are certainly going to be on the table if he does come back. But we do have a positive update here. The question is, can Lonzo Ball stay healthy? Because in 4 seasons with the Chicago Bulls, he has only played in 70 games. And so that leads us to the next point here and the most recent trade rumors around Lonzo Ball. And so this is something that has been out for about a week now, and you can find this just about everywhere. But if you want to go check this out a little bit more, you can also go to sportsillustrated.com. It is under that article that we just looked at here, talking about the update for Lonzo Ball. But within this, it refers to Marc Stein, NBA insider there, and he has a Substack. And so if you're going to that is on a paywall there. But if you want to read the excerpt in that article, you can go there and take a look here. But it's talking about that the Dallas Mavericks are looking to get somebody to fill in at the point guard position. While Kyrie Irving is injured, because if you did not get a chance to see last season, he went down with the knee injury. He is not going to be there at the start of the season. Who knows when he's going to come back? But the Dallas Mavericks may be looking to add a point guard. And so one of the players mentioned within this article was Drew Holiday of the Boston Celtics. And with him, that's a tough situation because he still has 3 years, 104 million on that contract. And so that would be something that's going to be tough to move, especially with the Boston Celtics and the tax apron that they're in. And so that would be a tough situation. And then next, it talks about that Lonzo Ball, he would really be, I think, the person financially that makes a lot of sense there for the Dallas Mavericks. And so, look, if this is true, and the Dallas Mavericks are definitely interested in him, I think that the Chicago Bulls must be aggressive here and make this happen, because Lonzo Ball is on a team-friendly deal right now, 2 years, $20 million. And so that's going to break down to $10 million per. And the last year of his deal is a team option. And so, whether it's the Chicago Bulls or if it's the Dallas Mavericks, they have complete control. And so one of the things that I just talked about with Lonzo Ball, is can he take on a major role? I don't know if he's necessarily going to be a starter here with the way that Josh Giddey and then Coby White have taken off there. It would have to take something drastic, I think, for him to get back into the starting lineup. But does he mix in there at times in rotations and things like that? Absolutely. And I think that he would be a perfect fit for what the Dallas Mavericks would want until Kyrie Irving gets back, because I think that if he has the full offseason and it looks good from there, he can certainly start for you. And then when Kyrie comes back, you can kind of go back and forth between rotating them back, because you don't know, how long it's going to take for Kyrie to get back up to speed. And so, I definitely see where that makes sense for the Dallas Mavericks to make this deal. Now, if they were going to do this, I think that this would be a deal that would certainly have to center around these 4 players, because when you look at the financials of this, we just talked about the fact that, he's making the 2 for 20, and I'm talking about Lonzo Ball here. And so, with Daniel Gafford, he's making 14 million. And so I'll move that out the way here in a moment. You have PJ Washington as well. He is making the 14 million. You have Caleb Martin making 9.5, and then you have Najee Marshall is making 9 million. And so I think that all those players right there would be a good fit as far as getting a deal done from a financial standpoint. And I definitely think that, especially with Daniel Gafford, I think that that's a player that certainly the Bulls would want, especially when you're talking about a center, a young center at 26 years old that would fit perfectly with Josh Giddey, with Coby White, and the direction that this team wants to really go with and play with, the playing style. I think it would be perfect. I think PJ Washington, a young player at 26, a nice power forward / small forward, would be a terrific addition when you're talking about adding to the front line. So I think that either of those players is a good fit. I even feel like even Najee Marshall at 27 years old, he's a great fit. He's a two-way player. I think he would have to take on a bit of an expanded role. And I think that if he were to come over here with the Chicago Bulls, I do think that he would fit as far as being a slasher. He's certainly going to be a guy that gets up in transition. He can be a bit of a 3-and-D type of player for you. And Caleb Martin, look, I don't love the fit. A little bit older, but Caleb Martin has done some big things with the Miami Heat. And so you're getting the experience there, small forward / two guard that kind of goes back and forth that way, but you're getting some toughness to your team. You're getting an identity. And so I think that any of those 4 players would definitely work if you're starting to look at a possible deal here for Lonzo Ball. Now, here's the thing. I think that if the Chicago Bulls make this deal, then I think that certainly would maybe shed some light to the direction that they're going in the NBA draft. Because if you get a player like Daniel Gafford, then I think it makes sense now for the Chicago Bulls if they were to go out there and get a Jace Richardson out of Michigan State, or if you were to get Jaeger Dimon out of BYU, because then you would already have a center in Daniel Gafford. You could draft another guard because obviously Lonzo Ball is not there. And then if you're able to, I think, get some second round picks here, which I would hope that AK would have that type of negotiation skills, excuse me, to get some type of picks back here, then maybe that's something to where the Chicago Bulls could maybe use those picks and trade up a little bit more in the second round. And you can address more of your front court, whether it's going to be Broom that plays for Auburn, which I think he will still be there at pick 45 for you. I don't think that you necessarily have to trade up for him. But also, too, let's say a player like Reynaud, he falls from Stanford, a center. That's another big that you can go out there and address your front court with. Another thing that you could do is maybe you can go out there and you can get the center that played for Creighton as well. And so I think that there's ways in which you can use those picks to go out there and get your front line taken care of. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a center. Maybe it's going to be a wing player or somebody like that you want to target in the second round. You could do that. And so that's a way that you either are going to gain some second round picks. You also could address what you need in the front court with your bigs and things like that. And so I think that this is definitely an option that the Chicago Bulls should certainly want to, I think, explore. The question is, how aggressive is AK going to be? Because when you look at the Thunder and why they're successful, it is because Sam Presti went out there and he got picks. And so, if this team is going to turn it around, yes, you need to hit on your stars. You want Josh Giddey and these guys like that to take off, but you're also going to have to take the picks that you get, and you're going to have to take care of business in the NBA draft. And so this is a way in which AK can come off of an asset. He can get a young big that can help your team on your timeline right now, or wing, because we talked about a couple different players. And so you can get some players that fit your timeline. You also can go out there and still execute in the draft as well. And so this is a prime opportunity for the Chicago Bulls. And so you guys let me know what you guys are thinking about here. Do you feel like that the Dallas Mavericks should in fact trade for Lonzo Ball? Obviously, we don't cover the Dallas Mavericks here. I should say, do you think the Chicago Bulls should be interested in getting a deal done with the Dallas Mavericks? And then if they do engage in a trade, would you be okay with getting Daniel Gafford back or a PJ Washington? And then do you think that also, too, would that maybe change how you look at the draft? Would you feel okay then if the Bulls did go out and get a Jaeger Demon, if that is who they're reportedly looking to get? Obviously, like I said before in the last video, you got to take that stuff with a grain of salt, because they could just be throwing stuff out there to where they can just get a team to think that they're going that way to ultimately get to a player that they want. But it does make sense here, and it almost shows you that if the Bulls would be willing to move off of Lonzo, and then let's say that they decide to move off of Trey Jones, which he is a free agent, and so when I say move off of him, they don't bring him back, then you're looking at a possible situation here where you're reshuffling your backcourt, because these guys make a lot of sense, especially if you have that contract coming up with Coby White and you don't know if you want to bring him back or whatever the case is. And you also have the situation with Io. So this could be the chance that the Bulls maybe want to reshuffle their backcourt a little bit and go younger and pivot in a different direction. But we'll find out ultimately what the Bulls want to do. You guys let me know in the comments here what you guys are thinking about all these updates. And also, too, Lonzo saying that he is ready to get back on the court. And so I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. And as we always say, look, go Bulls, and I will see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.